Yo, what's up, everyone? How's it going? I promised that I would never, ever do a top 10 video, but everyone's been asking about it. By everyone, I meant all of my 17 subscribers, because I know the others are just fake accounts. I'm joking. Um, Dragon Pause, I'm sorry. I know you hate top 10 videos. I know you can't stand them, but you're gonna watch it anyway. Because, let's be honest. What else is there to do in this game? I mean, like, after you do your dailies, like, what are you gonna do? Oh, I haven't done my dailies. Shit. Okay, I better do my dailies in a minute. Rare champion. Oh, I can't be bothered with this. I can't be bothered. Charm at Forge. Alright. Okay. What top 10 are we doing? We are going to do, because we have a vanilla 2x ancients coming up. 111. Nice number. I'm going to do top 10 ancients. I think, in my opinion, counting down from the 10th to the 1st. Okay? And this is based on the current, I think, usage both in PvE and PvP. You might disagree with some of them, but honestly, this is my experience and my opinion. Okay. So, counting down, number 10. Number 10, I think, is Kandra. Kandra is extremely strong, okay, because of this passive. This passive effect increases damage by 40% whilst attacking Veil or Perfect Veil. Now, he can get Veil or Perfect Veil quite automatically based on the enemy kind of turn meter, right? So receives 40% damage, less damage whilst under Veil or Perfect Veil. So not only does he increase damage, he also reduces the damage taken. This is so important in areas such as faction wars or arena, where you generally, it's not as easy to control how much damage you receive, and therefore mitigating that damage is super important. So also boost this champion's turn meter by 15% each time this champion receives damage whilst under Veil or Perfect Veil. That's huge. 15% turn meter is huge. Sometimes you just get some trickle damage, right? From, say, like Kaima's A1 or from a Tormin A1, and boosting turn meter by 15% is massive. Okay. And the active effect is basically places Perfect Veil on this champion for one turn each time the enemy's turn meter is filled. This buff cannot be removed. This is super strong. Perfect Veil already reduces AoE damage, and it boosts his damage and reduces further damage, and can increase turn meter if hit. So Kandra can really surprise, jump the queue, and surprise the enemy nuke team, which tends to be magic and quite fragile. His A1, it can have a double hit if the enemy has a buff. When you increase his damage, basically this, when there's a double hit, whilst under Veil, it's basically like a 12 multiplier. 12 on the A1. I've had this hit for double hit, right, combined together over 360k. Okay, I've got screenshots and videos of this in Plat Arena. Okay, so imagine 180k on the A1 double tip. Like basically that will kill anybody. Like, you can have strengthen, you can have other things on, it will kill, right? I think I had mine build around almost 7k attack, 300 crit damage in SP gear. Oh man, it was one of the hardest hitting Kandras, right? This hurts as well. Attack all enemies, grants an extra turn if it kills one or more enemies. So this is super strong. Imagine you smack this. This kills someone really weak, like a Hegemon or a Tronda, even though Tronda's not that weak, really. High defense. Then you follow that up with A1, right? and you kill a reviver. Extremely strong as a defensive nuker, right? But you can also use it offensively. Offensively, I would say the only weak point is that it's force. Okay, so and it's not. You're probably building it reasonably slow. Look at this, 96 base speed. Okay, so offensively, I don't really recommend it as much as a more defensive nuker. So that's number 10, okay? But the reason why he's not higher up is because I don't really see him much in PvE content because of his slightly low speed and the way that he needs to be veiled and reacting to the enemy rather than proactively trying to engage the enemy. Number 9. Number 9, I think, has to be this really important champion, Ghostspawn. Ghostspawn has this unique ability that places decreased defense and increased attack in the same move. And the decreased defense cannot be resisted. This is super unique. Why is this important? Not because of resist meta, like people like Swain building like 700 resist, DP building 800 resist. It's not that. Because you have accuracy, increased accuracy buff. It is because for dungeon runs, you want reliability. Okay, people will be saying, well, if I land decreased defense, it only has 97%. It only has, it will land in 97%. It has 3% to be resisted. Yeah, 3% across 5 enemy champions is a lot. Okay, it's not 3% across all of them. It's 3% for one or more of them, which means it's a lot more than 3%, okay? If you just said, the chance of one of them resisting might be 3%, yeah, but for all 5 of them across 2 waves and the boss, that 3% will pick up pretty quickly, okay? And that will mess up some of the runs. Some of them might fail, others might just take, a minute or 2 minutes longer. Okay, so Ghostspawn gets over all of that because a decreased defense will land, and provided you did all your nuke calculations correctly, like using Royal Guard or Seer or Poison Explosion or whatever, all your runs will be perfectly identical, right? Because missing decreased defense is the greatest variation. Increased attack is, for an attacking player, the most important buff. There is no buff more important in increased attack. 50% extra damage, unless you are some weirdo that uses HP-based champions, right? Attack-based champions do way more damage, and increased attack is by far the biggest damage buff. Okay, so in that respect, Ghostspawn is super nice. In Arena, he still has a niche place. I mean, not as much as before. Last year, we didn't really have increased accuracy as an active buff. So therefore, Ghostspawn had a huge place. Like, you would just basically do Ghostspawn and then nuke. And that saves you the trouble of bringing something like an Arbiter. But now we have so many increased attack, we have increased accuracy, like Yoshi as a fusion. Ghostspawn has kind of lost its place a little bit. I would say quite a lot, actually. But still has niche uses. For example, you could have a blender team against slow teams where you have Ghostspawn lead, decreased defense, increased attack, and then Longbeard blend, right? That would be super nice if you don't need the turn meter boost by Arbiter. Okay, so Ghostspawn, I still think for PvE is one of the most important champions. For endgame, zero variation, 100% reliable runs. And for PvP, Ghostspawn will always have, a use. Something that is spirit-based, that has decreased defense and increased attack. I mean, come on. Unresistible, come on. The weak points of Ghostspawn is that this attacks all enemies. So if this has a chance of failing to land, of weak hits, so to speak, on magic champions, that is the only weak point, I would say. Okay, on to champion number 8. Number 8, I think, is a favorite by many people. It's Molly. I believe Molly was an old fusion. Like, I wasn't there when Molly was a fusion. Why do I like Molly so much, and why is she so relevant? First of all, she has excellent stats. 1,465 defense, 18k HP, 107 speed is really fast, 80 resist, okay, really nice stats, obviously as a dwarf. She has one of the best crowd control abilities. Places provoke debuff on all enemies for 1 turn. Has 50% chance, you can increase this through masteries, of 2 turns provoke. How many crowd controls, apart from very recently, I think through Cornelia, has a 2-turn, potential 2-turn, okay, potential 2-turn crowd control? Think about locking someone out for 2 turns. Some nukers benefit if there are crowd control effects, okay? Some all nukers can get a mastery that does extra damage, like 12% extra damage, I think, on things that have crowd control effects. So huge bonus, and then reflects 30% damage, which is a lot. I've seen many Kandras and Tronda die on hitting Molly. Has a revive with block damage and 50% turn meter. It's okay, it's not great. This really isn't gonna do much damage or anything, so you can basically ignore that, even with an HP burn. But this passive is unique. Fills the turn meter for all allies by 15%, huge. When this champion is hit, any kind of hit, everybody's turn meters goes up by 15%. Fills the turn meter by 25% if it's the boss. Okay, so this is really powerful for Arena. When Hegemon goes first, they have a speed team. You want to jump the speed queue after Hegemon goes, so you put Molly, for example, in a shield set. She basically just ignites a passive for your whole team. So you could have like a 310 speed immunity arbiter that when they get the 15% boost, effectively jumps to 370 speed or something like this and jumps the queue, right? So Molly in that respect is really useful. And some people use like level 1 or level 10 Mollys just to die on purpose and trigger more masteries, like timely intervention or something like this, to boost the speed jump even more. In that respect, 1 to 2 turns provoke, unique. Reflect damage, useful. Revive, always useful. And a passive that is unique and allows you to manipulate turn meter. I have to put her at number 8. Okay, coming in at number 7, a slightly controversial. It is, of course, Bad Alcazar. We just had a 10x on Bad Al, and many people say, oh, the new Ulgrim is like a replacement or even better version of Bad Al. Yes, if you're just interested in solo dungeon runs for like Ice Golem or something, yeah, maybe. But this passive here, allies inflict 20% more damage against targets under poison debuffs. How can this not be useful? Like, I really want Bad Al just for that passive. That is going to be useful later down the line at some point. If you don't want it now, I think it was super useful, like for Spider or something, like a year ago. But in the future, I'm sure this is going to be super useful for Hydra boss. When you have all those Hydra heads, they're all poisoned by Richthof, for example, or someone else, Ulgrim, and you want that boost. You definitely want that boost. So for that reason alone, I'm putting Bad Al at number 7. This is the only, I think, controversial champion in the top 10. Because some people will say, well, maybe top 7 2 weeks ago, but not anymore. But I still think he's pretty good. Coming in at number 6, don't have to jump page, of course, for non-voids, is Rotos. Rotos was really heavily nerfed, but I still think MVP in many arena combinations. Many people want 2. I want 2 Rotos, I don't have 2. Many people want 2. If you had 2, you would build 2, right? So useful. Why? Because of this passive. Will decrease damage from enemy hits so that the incoming damage from any single hit will not exceed 50% of this champion's max HP. Grants an extra turn if the damage reduction occurs. Allows you to instantly jump the turn meter queue and come in swinging. And he swings hard. Will ignore 60% of the target's defense. Ignore unkillable. Ignore block damage. This is so effective against many champions like Skullcrown, like that new lion dude, super useful against SP gear. So if the SP gear triggers, this will go right through it, basically. This used to block revive, which was like pretty ridiculous. So now you have to spam A2 until he reaches max HP, which you don't really know about, and then this will block revive. So Rotos remains a really good offensive champion against like hegemon teams and stuff like that, against slow and tankier teams, against Duchess. Remains really strong defensively, for example, with this dude here, Volgoth, because Volgoth heals Rotos and allows him to trigger that passive more. Has an A1 that is super powerful, lands decreased defense, and has 25% chance of granting an extra 10. So Rotos either in really slow Savage gear, or in Relentless gear, or in Resist gear, all useful. You know, having 3 Rotos is not too many. Okay, so in that respect, and it's synergy with Siphi, so that if Siphi's on the team, all debuffs get removed when Rotos takes a turn. So any crowd control effects, any poisons, anything slowing Rotos down or limiting Rotos get immediately all removed without any checks. So that synergy with Siphi as well puts Rotos at number 6, if not a little bit further up the food chain. Actually, I think 6 is being a little bit unfair, but I'm going to put it at 6 because of the nerfs. And because it's even more powerful with Siphi. So you must have Siphi, which actually is some kind of limitation on the single champion. Coming in at number 5. Okay, into the top 5 now. For me, top 5 has to be this champion I somehow don't have, which is Lysandra. Lysandra's turn meter manipulation is the best in the game, in my opinion. Not only does she have a speed aura, an excellent speed of 110, she has this ability which is place 30% increased speed. Okay, fine. Fills the turn meter of our allies by 30%. Whoa! So that's the highest. Many champions are like 15%. There's only a few champions, even some good epics, which is 30%. And then decreases turn meter for enemies by 30%. Wait, so that's like a 60% turn meter swing plus a 30% increased speed buff. Nothing, it comes close to this. This basically allows you to do like a fast arbiter, Lysandra, and then you can build your Madame and your Nuka really slow and hit really hard, because their speed requirements are much lower when you have Lysandra on the team. Okay, and she is used a lot in Doom Tower and other places. She also has a fantastic A2, which is attacks one enemy, fully depletes that target's turn meter. Fully depletes, which also complements with some recent champions, I think, that have special effects with fully depleted turn meters. But that's not the key point. I mean, it's super strong. And the A1 is, I think, one of the strongest in the game, right? Not the strongest, but one of them. Attacks one enemy, transfers all debuffs from this champion to the target. So if you have debuffs like decreased defense and stuff like that, so it's super powerful, right? Strong counter to Krisk, as I found out. So Krisk passive puts decreased defense and decreased attack on anyone that hits Krisk. Lysandra, it just transfers it back to Krisk. And if you have a really high resist Krisk previously, this A1 didn't have an accuracy check. So you could just ignore resistance and go right through. But now I think you have to pass an accuracy check. I still think Lysandra is number 5. Really strong. Okay, on to number 3. This is where it gets... number 4. This is where it gets a little bit controversial. For me, at number 4 is Duchess. And people will be thinking, yeah, but why not higher? Because the higher ones, I think, are even more important. Duchess, in my opinion, can be used anywhere. Like Clan Boss, Doom Tower, Faction Wars, Arena Offense, Arena Defense. Of course, you build her differently in gear, in stats, in masteries. But basically, I use Duchess everywhere. And I've got 2 now. I used to have 0 just a month ago. Now I have 2. Just look at her base stats. Just before you look at abilities, before you look at multipliers and everything else, don't forget to look at base stats. Base stats is what separates legendary champions from most epics and rares, right? Base stats is when you have an insane gear, your health can jump from like 50k to 120k. 22, almost 22.5k HP as base stat is insane. 1.2, almost 1.3k defense coupled with that is insane. That tells you one thing, really hard to kill, first of all. If geared properly, really hard to kill, okay? Aura, speed, all battles, super useful. Passive, decreases damage taken by all allies from AoE attacks by 25%. Basically has strengthened for AoE attacks. That's unremovable and all the time. Revives all dead allies. Okay, AoE revive to 70% HP. Places Veil buff on all allies. Except this champion for 1 turn. So everyone, if you place Veil on everyone can actually, I think, be targeted. But places Veil on everyone except Duchess means that Duchess can only be targeted, okay? And she is really tanky. Places 15% continuous heal on all allies for 2 turns. Okay, so basically we'll heal them over 2 turns to max HP. Really nice 4-turn AoE revive. One of the strongest defensive revives, right? Without going max turn meter or anything, just a defensive revive. Shroud of Souls is one of the strongest abilities in the game. A2 on a 4-turn cooldown places 50% increased attack, block debuffs on all allies for 2 turns, places Perfect Veil buff. Perfect Veil, it not only reduces damage like Veil, but also means when you attack someone under Perfect Veil, you do not break Veil. Okay, they can still not target you. You can basically attack people with like basically impunity. Except this champion for 2 turns. So again, except this champion for 2 turns, which is super important because that means Duchess must be attacked. Okay, you can AoE, but for single target nuking, you can't hit other champions on that team. You must attack Duchess. And that works really well for her A1. Okay, if you have masteries which cause you to counterattack when, for example, someone gets crowd controlled or you suffer critical damage, then Duchess will counterattack with the A1, which is attack one enemy 2 times, then places shield buff equal to 10% of the champion's max HP for 2 turns of this champion's max HP. So you build Duchess to 100k HP. So 10% is like 10k HP on herself, and the champion was the lowest HP. So a 10k HP shield just from Duchess A1 being spammed on your weakest champions is huge survival boost. So you can see a Duchess or someone dying really closely. Duchess gets off a counterattack from her masteries and bam, 10k shields on everybody. I mean, not everybody, from Duchess and the lowest champion concerned. Super annoying, super hard to kill. Okay, so really nice. That's why I put Duchess, and I have video guides on how to build Duchess for offensive teams, for defensive teams. I'll put that up. So that's Duchess, right, for the number 4 slot. Now into the top 3. For the 3rd spot, it's a personal favorite of mine. It's Valk. You can't really replace Valk. I mean, there is a lesser version of Valk, a really weird opposite version of Valk. I'll show you in a minute. But Valk is unique. Again, look at the base stats. Pretty much 1.6k defense, 104 speed, 17, almost 18k HP. Really amazing base stats. Okay, look at the passive here. Jealousy. This champion's turn meter will be increased by 10% each time enemy champion places a buff. So things like Siphi placing 3 buffs on everybody. Well, like each enemy champion will have their turn meters decreased by 10% for each buff they receive. So if I receive 3 buffs, I lose 30% turn meter following an accuracy check. Ouch. Basically very strong, extremely strong turn meter manipulator. A1. So if say a Siphi puts 3 buffs on everybody on the enemy team loses a huge amount, like 30% turn meter. Valk boosts her turn meter by 30%, jumps the Q, effectively giving her like 360 speed, and then comes in with an A1. decrease turn meter by 10% on each hit if the target has any buffs, which they do. Further reduces their turn meter, mess up their attack order, like for example, do this on the enemy Madame, so that the Madame goes after their nuker, mess up their cycle. And then also has this amazing A2, biggest shield in the game. Attacks all enemies, places a shield buff on all allies for 3 turns, and a counter-attack buff on all allies for 2 turns. The value of the shield and damaging and the damaging figure are proportional to this champion's defense. So as long as you get defense up, and you don't get defense down on Valk, she can place a massive shield. And then the counter-attack is really beneficial, right? For herself, she reduces turn meter. For others, like Rotos or Kandra or Kutraxa, they hit really hard on the A1. So super, super useful. Okay, super useful. This is why I place Valk in the number 3 slot. Okay, now on to number 2. Number 2 is a champion I don't have. It's the champion I want the most. It is Tronda Guild Mallet. Look at this graphics. This champion is an old champion, an old school champion, and it's a champion that clearly the game designers dedicated like 10 times more energy towards. It's obviously their premium rare legendary, and no one has come close to her damage ever since. Not really. I mean, not with attack up and buffs. She is insane. Look at her base stats for an attack nuker, right? For what's supposed to be a glass cannon, okay? 22.8k HP basically makes her. She has better base stats than most defensive champions. Okay. So let me show you. 22, almost 23k HP base. Okay. Have a look at this. This guy, right? Helio. Meant to tank things, right? Tank all the damage by everybody, right? 18k base HP. Okay. So, you say, it's a defensive champion. Okay, fair enough. Okay, let's find some HP champions. Okay, so HP champions like Sacred Order, like Sonic. Okay, same base HP as Sonic, which is one of the best HP based nukers. Okay. Look at this new dude. Where is he? Magna, there he is, sorry. HP nuker, right? 21k HP, okay? Let's look at other things like Duchess, okay, 22k HP, okay? This is how strong Tronda is, okay? Mortu, 23k, okay, Mortu is slightly higher, like by 200 HP, okay? This is how strong Tronda is. Just in that stat, almost 23k HP, one of the highest in the game, okay? 980, almost 1,000 defense for a attack nuker. 1,000 defense, okay. High elves, if you take ethos, 700. Okay, if you look at something like Herdic, 16. Look at that. Basically, Tronda can survive. If you put her in immunity against nuke hedges, she will survive. If you don't kill everybody on your first turn, it's okay. She can go for another turn. You don't need to worry too much about her. Okay, this is message number 1. Message number 2 is the most important stat, which is her attack stat. 1,600 attack. It's not the highest in the game, but it's high. Most nuke champions vary between 1,400 something to 1,500 something. 1,600 makes her really, really strong. Okay, and why is she strong? Because this ability attacks all enemies, has 75% chance of placing stun, places HP and debuff on 2 turns for enemies under stun, places an extra hit on enemies not under stun debuffs. This is really strong. Build her with 0 accuracy, and basically she will double hit and does a 6x damage. 6x is the highest, I believe, multiplier for a pure AoE, like everybody AoE. Okay, so she is the strongest nuker, has been, probably will always be, unfortunately. It's the way Plarium designs value around rarity and difficult to access because the pool is getting bigger. Her A2 is also a 6 multiplier, attacks one enemies, then attacks all enemies with the second hit, dealing 60% of the damage inflicted from the first hit. It's really strong A2 as well. One of, I think, top 5 or top 6 attacks by A2. Like the A2 is as good as some other champions A3 effectively. So she can come around with an A3, A2 and really hurt. And her A1 hits super hard, double hit as well. And has a chance to stun, but you won't be building into that. So really, really, really strong. Really strong. Really strong in arena. People don't need to say this, right? But also really strong in Doom Tower. Like if you look at, like for example, Celestial Griffin runs, look at all these Trondas. Look at all these Trondas and Rotoses below, right? So very relevant for both PvP and PvE. Okay, so that's the second most important non-void champion you can pull, provided you don't already have 5. Finally, the most important champion I think you can pull on this 2x for Ancients. It is Kaima. It has to be Prince Kaima. By far the most useful champion in the current PvE and PvP meta. Okay. Increase all speed in arena battles by 30%. One of the best auras, I think. Only Shazar is like 32% or whatever. But one of the best auras for arena. Resets the cooldown for all ally skills. Fills the turn meter for all allies except this champion by 20%. Huge ability. Huge cooldown, obviously. But reset skills. So you can nuke twice by Tronda. So you can nuke twice by Seer. In Doom Tower waves. In dungeon waves. Is huge. This is a huge ability. Then followed by this. Attack all enemies, removes all buffs, places sleep debuff for 1 turn. Big ability, right? Big ability. So basically, has the potential to be really fast, go first, or go as a second turn meter, affector, puts everyone to sleep, strip all their shields, or their increased defenses, or their block debuffs, and then allow your much slower nuker to nuke without worrying about speed tune, resets abilities, boosts everyone's turn meters, jumps ahead and does it again. Really strong. The A1 is actually his weakest point. Attacks all enemies, places the 5% debuff for 1 turn if this attack is critical. Now, if you're building for arena, you really don't want crit damage. I mean, you don't want crit rate and to do any crit damage because you don't want to cause the enemy to counterattack through masteries, right? And you're not going to, unless you're really coming down to the details, you generally don't build Kaima for damage. I've seen some people do it, like at the extreme top 10 kind of level of arena. For things like Spider, you don't want the A1 to do damage either. You want things to HP burn. You don't want to kill them using Kaima's A1, right? So basically the A1 is actually an exploitative weak point. Some people can try to trigger this A1 and cause, for example, the Kaima to attack the enemies more to trigger the passive and peril you. So basically, I think that A1 is the weakest point. But overall, really strong. The weak points are the A1 and also the fact that it's magic and this can weak hit. It also requires accuracy, of course, needless to say, but weak hitting on things like Kandra can be a huge problem. Because if you weak hit on a Kandra, and the Kandra's Masteries trigger, not only does it boost turn meter because it probably has Veil, but also if you see someone else asleep or being critted, it will counterattack and counterattack hard with the Kandra A1 whilst under Veil. Someone will die. So that's the only weak point of using Prince Kaima. But otherwise, you will see him almost so much at Arena Reset, even on defense and definitely on offense. And in Doom Tower for all the waves, if you don't use Kaima Seer combination, it's just going to take a lot longer, I think. So that's it. That's the top 10. Okay. Those are the top 10, I think, champions you can get for this weekend of just general Ancient 2X. May the luck, gods, or whatever it is that you pray to be with you. Good luck. I will be pulling shards. I'll be pulling my 111. I will also consume some gems, I think, or buy some packs and try to pull some shards, maybe on Sunday when I've looked at all the offers and everything. But good luck. Let me know what you pull and peace out.